Hello from Safonovo. This is a podcast Pigeon of Peace where we do discuss awesome skills of troubleshooters. Watch, listen, and check the description below for the details. Let's talk about bathhouse and let's start with the definition.
It was a time when people has no pipes and they have no hot water, and they decided to clean themselves first in the rivers and the streams. But at the winter time, there is no chance to make this, or not too many people could do this, especially pregnant ones or maybe children. So on some territories, especially in Siberia, it was developed like a bath houses. It's a special kind of building, sometimes even without any window, but with chimney, and there are fireplace in it and some big stones which was heated by the woods or wood fire, and they would be served as heaters to heat the water or to make a steam,
Steam.
to make a steam. And people were using different kind of, I don't know how to say, веник.
Well, probably just could say like a branches of the trees.
Okay, people will use some branches of the trees, and then I also will need your help sometime from the oak one and береза, white tree,
Birch.
or from the birch and some else stuff. For example, if you go to Novosibirsk and some other cities after the Ural Mountains, you will find that people use also pine branch of the trees to heat by themselves. Even in Russian language, there is a saying that if someone stick to you and trying to talk all the time or going like your tail, it is like a bath house leaf, банный лист.
Yeah, it could be said like that. So probably most of the people also would say, okay, maybe it's like a hygiene part. We'll look into this too. But probably other would be quite interested to see like, okay, whether, like it affects your body because, like it could be, like heart pressure. It's quite hard. It's quite unusual. It might be, like especially for people coming from, I would say, more or less delicate culture, it will be quite harsh when someone is actually like punishing you there and it's still like the temperature is below the level of comfort. So what about the effects? Like what kind of stuff you can get for your health the moment you visit bathhouse?
If you compare two different traits like this, for example, Turkish hammam, you will have soap massage. So it would be used soap and some kind of bag made from materials, and you will lay on the hot stone, which will be poured by the water. Then you will put your Turkish towel, you will lay on the top, and some person would press on your joints, and you will hear crackings, and then you will be washed out with these materials with soap. If you go to thin steam, you will just sit. It could be infrared, it could be heated by something else, even with stones, but you will just sit there. But so-called Russian bath, it is a very sophisticated tradition. For example, we were talking before about this building. They have two different types. First is so-called dark or black buildings. So the smoke from the wood will go inside the building, and after you take the bath, you will have on your hair the smell of this wooden smoke. But there is also could be like clean bath where it would be a chimney and the smoke will go out, and it is more expensive. Second, usually this bath time is divided. First will go by men. Second, it will be for women, and on the last stage it would be children. Another part, it's like small exercises. For example, first you will be beaten by the birch bench of trees. Then you will have a rest. Then, for example, you will be massaged with, I don't know how to say, but it is like dry grass, сено.
Straws.
You will be massaged with straws. Then you will have a rest. Then you will be beaten, for example, by pine branch of trees or можжевельник, I don't know how to say.
Well, for this one, I need to think about.
Okay. Then, for example, you will go back and then you will be put it by the honey or by the lemon with mint. Then you will go back and you will be beaten by the branch of branches, pack of branches from oak. So you'll have from 5 to 6 different stages, and after each one you will be washed out, and then you will stay in special room. I don't know how to say, with samovar. It's okay to say samovar?
Samovar, yes,
With
it's unique.
samovar, and also small donuts, but firm one. I don't know how to say. It's like sushka or bubliki.
It's still unique name, so it's sushka.
Okay, with sushkas.
So what I also realized, especially I was living some of the time in Siberia, Banya or bathhouse is also about the contrast. So as you rightfully say, maybe I just will look at it as a sprint. Basically, you put a lot of effort in whatever, like whether you tolerate the heat or not. Then you do the opposite. Probably, let's say you go and jump into the snow, or you just go out and maybe drink a hot tea with your friends and, like you have a conversation and go back. So whether this contrast is also part of it, or again, like it could be various through different cultures or maybe through different regions. And again, like if we're still talking about the value of the bani, is it still good for your health, or maybe it's actually making things worse?
It depends from tradition. For example, in the cities, there are no place to dive in special swimming pools and so on. It's quite rare. But if you will stay in suburbs, if you will stay in rural area, then you will go to the streams, you will go in special holes, and it's very cold. For example, it could start from 14 degrees to 10. And when you just touch by the finger, it would make you swing. So it's so cold. But after like 100 degrees or 110 degrees, you will jump there, and for 1 or 2 seconds, it's quite okay to feel. And your I don't know how to say, holes in your skin, pore.
Yeah, pores.
Your pores, they will first go bigger because it is very hot, and then when you jump in the cold water or freezing water, they become very small. And if you will use the proper style, you will not get ill. But also there are a lot of different styles. For example, there is a kind of bathhouse where you will have stretches. For example, you will be, I don't know how to say, привязанный.
Tied up.
You will be tied up by the hands and by the legs, and then you will lay, I don't know, it was looking like a human, but human, вот как древом привязывают, такой, типа, гамак, like гамак?
Hammock.
Like a human hammock, and sometimes even something more terrific. If, for example, you go to Roman style, or for example, in Switzerland, there is a lot of different rooms. In one room, there would be ice making machine, and you will be able to put some ice with small pieces on your face, or for example, on your bodies. On the second, you will go, it would be like a rain shower. On the third, it would be like ionic water. So, for example, okay, and there also would be like hot stones on the floor or cold stones. It is not easy to go by them when they are just usual temperature, but if they're cold or hot, it is more hard. So it would be like a journey. For 1 hour, you will switch room after the room, exercise after exercise, and then you will be covered in like a cocoon, and you will sleep for 50 or 20 minutes.
Oh yeah, I do believe for some people who are actually outside of the country, it sometimes would feel like a BDSM, like another type of the BDSM practice. And what I also kind of noticed, and again, like probably something that might be interested for people who actually coming to see it for the first time, as far as I realized, the bathhouse could be used as a place for discussions. So let's say like you do some sort of business and they would invite you to the bathhouse, and this is where you see probably all of the conversations will happen. And sometimes I attended, let's say, when I say stay in a hotel in Russia, and sometimes they would have something there. So I would see, like, I would say senior people, they, like they're traveling, they're sharing their stories, yet it all happens in the bathhouse or maybe in the place nearby, but it's funny and interesting. So maybe we can cover this aspect as well.
You know, there is also a saying, especially among military men. You know, when a senior person would come into the room, all others should stand up. But there is a Russian saying, in the toilet and in the bathhouse, everyone is equal. So when you are entering the room, no one knows how many stars do you have. So no one forced to stand up. And yes, you know, it's very funny. Several days ago, I have been in steam house, not a bath house, but steam house in my gym, and there would be Adam. This is my friend from Canada, and we were talking about his business, which he's doing in Kazakhstan, and I provide him some contacts and so on. Suddenly, it was interfering from other person, and he was asking me, I have seen you on Instagram, and I was not so happy because we have a very serious conversation, and I have not too many times. But suddenly he was saying, I am I'm CEO of such a company, and suddenly at this point I was so wondering, it is no way I could find him, for example, in his cabinet, or I could find him his phone number. But suddenly he told me, okay, my wife is likes your video, I will give my visit card, could you spare like 30 minutes with her? And I was saying, okay, 30 minutes for this kind of phone, I'm ready to do this. But everything was happening in the bathhouse. Yes, so it's a most democratic place for all kind of people.
Oh yeah, it seems like it's a good place for networking. And maybe last but definitely not least piece, because sometimes what I also experience a little, there could be a smells in bathhouse. You know, like it could be because of, you know, like you put something around the fire, or it could be, you know, like a dried leaves or anything else. Again, it probably would depend on the region. So whether aromatherapy is also might be part of the bathhouse.
Yes, it could be. And I have a very sad story. I have a friend of mine. He was older than me. I don't know, maybe for 15 or for 12 years. But he previously was almost life prisoner. It's okay to say life prisoner?
Live prisoner.
He spent like 28 years in the prison. And then this person became a monk. So he has no teeth, very wise eyes, no hair on the head, and he became responsible for drug addicted children, and he was staying at some monastery. And sometime I also invite him to my best house in gym, and always he bring some kind of liquid. He was used, I don't know how to say, like a vedro, like can, huge can.
Bucket.
Huge bucket, thank you, with different kind of leaves which will stay there for a long time. For example, it would be, okay, different kind of leaves, I don't know the name in English. And he was pouring on the stone in this steam house, and everyone was saying, oh, it's so cool. But suddenly he was catched, and he was one warning, second warning, and then he was prohibited to visit this steam place, because it is prohibited to use any kind of aromatherapy. But there is also some small tricks. You could buy small bottles, for example, with aroma butters. It's okay to say aroma butters?
Aroma oil, yes.
Aroma oil, sorry, aroma oil. And then you will put several drops. So it would not make those stones dirty, but it would enough to have a whole room for the smell.
And my last question will be how knowing about bathhouse could make this world a better place.
Maxim, to be honest, you know the story, but I never was saying this in public. Even my way to Moscow was through the bathhouse. When I was working partly in Ukraine and partly in Russia, sometime or almost each time, two friends of mine from the Alpha Bank Russia, they were taking me to Sanduny bathhouse, and I so love this place that this maybe like 15 or 20% of my decision moved to Russia. You know, it's very democratic place where you could meet Dolph Lundgren and Konstantin Dzu and some other very famous sportsmen and actors and so on. And you could drink beer, you could drink kvass and some other stuff, and spend in naked form and have new relations and have new ideas. And you know, this is man's kind of rest. So it's part of the culture, but also time spending pleasure.
and we reviewed the skill of bathhouse and how it could be helpful for you. Stay in peace.